This problem is asking which statement best explains how living organisms help move water in the water cycle, based on the model shown. In the diagram, there is a process labeled transpiration, which is when plants release water vapor from their leaves into the atmosphere. This means plants help move water from the soil, where their roots take it in, to the air. So the correct answer is A. Plants help move water from the soil to the atmosphere. The other choices are incorrect because B suggests animals help evaporate water with body heat, which is not a significant part of the water cycle. C says plant movement creates wind, which isn't accurate. D says animals create mountain pathways for water, which isn't shown in the model or a typical part of the water cycle. The key idea here is that plants, through transpiration, play an important role in cycling water into the atmosphere. This question is asking you to compare asexual and sexual reproduction, using baker's yeast as an example. Each row describes a different characteristic, and you need to decide which type of reproduction it applies to: asexual, sexual, or both. Here's an explanation of each row. The first one says, increases genetic variation. The correct answer is sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction combines DNA from two parents, leading to unique offspring with a mix of traits. This increases genetic variation. Asexual reproduction creates clones, so it does not. The next says, requires two sex cells. The correct answer is sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction requires two sex cells, like sperm and egg, to combine. Asexual reproduction uses just one parent and doesn't involve sex cells. The third one says, produces nearly identical offspring. The correct answer is asexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, the offspring are genetically identical to the parent because there's no mixing of DNA. Sexual reproduction creates offspring with varied DNA. The last one says, transfers genetic information from one generation to the next. The correct answer is, both asexual and sexual reproduction pass on genetic information to offspring. Even if the process is different, both ensure that genetic material is transferred from parent to next generation. This comparison helps highlight the key differences and similarities between how organisms reproduce and how that affects genetic diversity. The question asks which water treatment methods require carrying an external source of energy, like batteries or fuel, and which do not. Let's go through each method using the information in the table. Filtration system does not require energy. Gravity moves water through the filter. No batteries or fuel needed. Chemical disinfectant tablets does not require energy. Tablets are small, easy to carry, and work without electricity or heat. Ultraviolet light requires energy. The device needs batteries to work. Boiling for 3 minutes requires energy. You need a stove and fuel to boil the water. Part B asks which method is most likely to make the water clear when removing pathogens, especially if the water contains particles like soil or decaying plants. Let's look at what the table tells us. Filtration system. The table says gravity moves water through the filters, which physically removes particles from the water. This is the only method that actually clears the water in addition to reducing pathogens. Chemical disinfectant tablets. These kill pathogens, but they don't remove particles. The water may still look cloudy after treatment. Ultraviolet UV, light UV, is very effective at killing pathogens, but the table says it's less effective if the water is cloudy. That means particles in the water interfere with how well it works, and it won't make the water clearer. Boiling for 3 minutes. Boiling kills all pathogens but does not remove particles, so the water stays cloudy. This problem is about how soil pH affects the color of hydrangea flowers. The student grew hydrangea plants in 3 types of soil. Acidic soil produced blue flowers, neutral soil produced purple flowers, basic alkaline soil produced pink flowers. Then it says that garden lime reduces the acidity of soil, which means it makes the soil more basic. The question asks, if a hydrangea is growing in neutral soil and the student adds garden lime, what color will the flowers become? Based on the pattern, as the soil becomes more basic, the flower color shifts from purple to pink. Therefore, the flower color will be pink because the acidity of the soil becomes basic. The key is knowing that garden lime increases the pH, makes the soil less acidic, and the table shows that basic soil produces pink flowers. This problem is asking how each conservation practice helps to conserve groundwater, either by reducing water use, reusing water, providing another source of water. Let's break down each practice. Irrigating crops with treated wastewater. This means using cleaned up water that has already been used once, like from sinks or showers. This is an example of reusing water, so we don't have to take as much from groundwater. Using indoor faucet nozzles that limit water flow. These devices reduce how much water comes out of a faucet. This helps by reducing water use, which means we use less groundwater overall. Using water from a rainwater collection system. This uses rain as an alternative to groundwater. This practice provides another source of water, which reduces the need to use groundwater. This problem asks which two characteristics students should focus on to help their solar oven heat food as quickly as possible. That means they need to think about increasing heat gain and reducing heat loss. Let's look at each answer choice. How often the oven will be used to heat food. This doesn't affect how fast the oven heats food. It's more about scheduling or usage, not performance. The type of food that will be heated in the oven? Different foods may heat differently, but this doesn't help improve the oven's heating speed in general. Possible ways of preventing or reducing heat loss from the oven. This is important. If heat escapes, food takes longer to cook. Keeping heat inside helps the oven heat food faster. Constructing an oven that is portable and easy to transport from place to place. Portability is a good feature, but it doesn't help with heating speed. Designing an oven that will collect as much sunlight and absorb as much heat as possible. This is also important. The more sunlight the oven can capture and absorb, the faster it will heat up. Part B asks, which design features will improve or reduce the rate at which a solar oven heats food? To heat food faster, a solar oven needs to maximize heat gain and minimize heat loss. Let's go through each design criterion. Covering the interior walls of the oven with a reflective material, such as aluminum foil, improves the rate of heating. Reflective materials help bounce sunlight around inside the oven, focusing more heat on the food. Allowing outside air to circulate inside the oven reduces the rate of heating. Letting in outside air causes heat to escape, cooling the oven and slowing down the cooking process. Having a mirrored surface that is adjustable in angle to reflect sunlight into the oven improves the rate of heating. Mirrors can be angled to direct more sunlight into the oven, increasing the amount of energy used for heating. Using cookware that is uncovered and open to the atmosphere reduces the rate of heating. Uncovered cookware allows heat to escape easily into the air instead of staying with the food. This problem is about using a model to represent how the sun, Earth, and gravity interact in the solar system. In the model shown, a ball is tied to a rope and swung around a pole. The ball moves in a circular path around the pole. To understand the model, the ball is moving in a circle like the Earth orbits the sun. The pole stays in the center like the sun. The rope keeps the ball from flying away, just like gravity keeps the Earth in orbit around the sun. So in this model, the ball represents Earth, the orbiting object. The pole represents the sun, the center. The rope represents the force of gravity, holding Earth in orbit. Correct answer: C. The ball is Earth, the pole is the sun, and the rope is the force of gravity. This choice best matches how the model represents the actual Sun-Earth gravity system. In this problem, students learn about a black squirrel that looks different from the typical gray squirrel. The teacher explains that the black fur is caused by a mutation in a gene that affects fur color. The model shows how a normal gene leads to gray fur by producing a protein that results in a normal melanin level, while the mutated gene makes a different protein that causes higher melanin levels and results in black fur. What's important to know is, genes carry instructions for making proteins. Mutations can change the protein, which affects how much melanin, pigment, is produced. More melanin equals darker fur. The questions test your understanding of how the mutated gene leads to a different protein and how that change affects the squirrel's fur color. The structure and function of the blank produced from the mutated gene is most likely blank the one produced from the normal gene. The model shows that the mutated gene leads to a mutant protein, which causes higher melanin levels and results in black fur. Since the effect is different, the protein must also be different from the normal one. Correct answer: the structure and function of the protein produced from the mutated gene is most likely different from the one produced from the normal gene. Question 30. Squirrels with the mutated gene have black fur because this gene produces a protein that blank melanin. Correct answer: produces a protein that produces more melanin. Explanation: the diagram clearly shows that the mutant protein leads to high melanin levels, which causes the black fur. So the correct phrase is produces more melanin.